What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video on my channel. In this video, we will be discussing my top 5 ways to stop cheaters for my scripts and ways that you can use and reproduce in your own script. Make sure you guys also hit that like and subscribe button because only 50% of you guys are actually subscribed. It helps me a bunch. It's free. Make sure you guys use code Twisle on Iceline Hosting to get 50% off your first month if you're looking for a great server host. So for number 5, we have using random event names and people overusing events. So for this example, we're going to start with random event names. So this event name is very obvious, right? Give item. Obviously, if we trigger this event, it's going to give an item, and it's going to usually have a parameter with the item. So we're calling this event here, which then comes the server and gives the item, and here's the item and all that. So what you shouldn't do is you shouldn't name it give item. Maybe like reward or something different that's a little less obvious about what the event actually is, and that is a little bit of a deterrent. The other thing is overuse of events. So for example, I'm overusing events right now, in my opinion. What I would rather people do, or what I'd rather people that I teach to do, is create a function here called after target, right? So if I was just to keep this event, a cheater could trigger this event over and over again, and it wouldn't have, and there could be other logic in here. There could be like maybe spawning cars, doing a lot of other logic in here that could, break other things. So what I tell people to do instead is to actually get rid of this extra event. Don't call the event here. Call on select equals function. Call your function in here, and then you can do other logic in here. You can even do this too, I'm pretty sure. But just I always do on select like this. I usually have logic in here too. But this is a lot better because you're calling the function here, so you can put whatever logic you want in here, and it can't be called over and over again because you'll have like checks in here for if they're able to interact with it, can't interact, but still they can't call this. Cheaters can't call functions like this over and over again. So now you just get down to this one, which with this event, which you then add like different names, more like secure names and hidden names, and it will be harder for people to realize. So in your entity zones and stuff like that, even like if you have multiple functions, like even if I have a function here, right, func1, there's no need to make func1 an event to call it here. No need at all. Just make it a function. I see a lot of newer people just like to use net events because it's easier, because they don't have to, it doesn't matter where they put it in the code, because they can call it from anywhere in the code. It's just bad. It's just bad everything. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. Make functions. That's how a regular programming language works. When you're registering a net event, you're registering a net event. You're letting it be called over the network, which is horrible encapsulation. If you guys want to know more about encapsulation for programming, watch a Unity tutorial because they talk about it a lot. Your code in reality is supposed to stay within the script that it's in, which, for example, this would be the client Lua. We want to keep as much logic encapsulated in the client.lua file as possible. It stops cheaters, it stops errors, it stops it all. So just keep that in mind when you're programming. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is distance checks. Very easy function here to do. So we're just going to do local function. We'll call it dist check. And we're going to do player ID, and we're going to do dist. So all we're going to do here is local player chords equals get entity chords. We're going to get the chords of the player. I forgot we need another parameter here, just chords. So, and then next thing you do is local dist equals, and then we're going to do Lua vector math because it's actually faster than get entity chords. So we're going to do player chords minus chords, And we're going to lock this to an XYZ just in case maybe someone actually passes through vector 4 here. But you can compare X's, you can compare Y's, you can compare Z's, you can compare it all. Just add the headers at the end, or the enders, whatever. So this will actually calculate the distance between because of this hashtag here. It unpacks the table, I think, or something like that. I don't really know the background of it, but I just know that doing Lua vector math is actually faster than get distance between chords. So all you got to do is, well, we don't need this. I don't know why I put that there. Oh, that's why. Hold on. We'll call that check. So we'll do if check, or if dist is greater than check, then obviously something's wrong. So we need to return false, else return true. So now all you need to do in your net event here when you're giving an item, all you got to do is if not, because we're going to check if it returns false. Dist check, player ID is source, roots. I'm just going to call that root for now. Root, just imagine that's our ped. We'll do that shop ped so you guys can understand more. And we'll do this since it's 5.0. I realize it's a good one. Then, so if this is returning false, which that's what not does a null check and a false check, then too far have issue. So that's how you know that they're too far. So this pretty much, if the distance is greater than check, so our check in this instance is 5. So if distance is greater than 5, then obviously you're too far and you shouldn't give anything. So we would actually just do a return statement here. So none of the code passed it. So your logic for giving item here. So your logic for giving item here, giving your item would be down here. So when we do this not check, it's actually going to not let any of this code past it actually return a value. So that's good. We want that. The next common method that I use in most of my scripts that give items, because I like to use just one of give item event net event. So I like to add as much security to it as possible. So I do a table usually called local valid items, and then I will literally just do, so maybe apple, for example, is one. I just do apple true. So that's how you know if it's in this table, it's an item we can give in this script. And make sure if you create this table, you don't do it and you do it in a server file so that dumpers can't dump the server, or they can't dump the script and find out where the items are. Just always remember, dumpers can't get server files. So if you put locations, things you want to be hidden from your players, characters, whatever, just make sure it's on the server so they can't dump it and get your locations. And maybe orange too. Make sure you put your commas. So that is our valid item table here. So all we need to do now, okay, so our distance check, we have our distance check. Next thing let's give the item. So let's do if not valid items, and then you put an array pointer or table pointer, whatever, and then you put item, then giving non-valid items. So then here we just want to return. So then now we would actually give item logic. So after you do that, now you can just do your give item logic here. All right, so the next thing I recommend, number 2, is clamping your give amounts and using callbacks. So that is my top 2 favorite things to do. So we're going to do lib.callback. It's going to lib.callback.register, and then you have your name. So I'm actually going to copy this down, and we're not going to use this net event anymore because callbacks are nice, or oxlib callbacks, they're nice because they have built-in cooldowns. So do item and amounts. So all we can do is take this, go to client where we're giving our item here. We can do lib.callback. Callback. I thought that was a different one. Callback.await, and then you put your callback name, And this second value here is actually your cooldown. So if I look at triggering our server callbacks here, well, here is our correct one. It's delay. Amount of time until this callback can be triggered again. So it's not really. It's called delay here. So I guess for them it's delay, but it's kind of like a cooldown. So we put this here. Maybe we want. Is it in MS? I'm assuming. It's in MS. It doesn't say, but I'm assuming it is. So we put 10 seconds. Right, and then we put our arguments here. So we want to give apple, and we want to give 5 apples. There you go. So that is how you do a callback, and this will actually return a value. So we can do other logic based on that. So if we put our entire check into here, so return false, and here we do return false. We can actually go back to here and do local got item. And got item will actually be our variable for what this callback returns. So if any of these checks go through, then it's going to actually return here false. And you can do whatever logic you want here. But doing the callback is actually pretty easy. Okay, so for clamping your values, your amount values, it's kind of different a little bit in Lua. In C#, you can use a mathf.clamp or something similar. Oops, this was from another script. But in Lua, it's a little bit different. So I'm going to do config.anti-max or anti-gains. And we're going to do, you can add this minimum too if you want. We can do the minimum is usually just always going to be 1, and the maximum we'll say is 10. So what you can do here, we'll do an if check here. So we can do if amount is, or that's backwards. If amount, oh no, that's actually if amount is greater than this, or amount is somehow less than this, then we're over clamp. And then we can just return false. So there you go. So now you have this check here where if amount is greater than, sorry, I forgot to add this. Greater than 2, and then this one needs to be greater than 1 because this is our max value and this is our minimum value. So if amount is less than the minimum, well, something's wrong there, obviously. And if amount is greater than our max value, then something is obviously also wrong there. So from that, you can actually functionalize this entire thing up here. So local function give item, and we can just do item amounts. And we also remember we're going to need our player. So you can just take, or we can actually do can give item. We do that. We don't need to pass through the item anymore. So we just do our player and our amount because we need to get our disk check. So we get our player here. So we need to change that. So can give item. Let's call this down here instead. If not can give item, then return false. Our player is our source. Our amount is our amounts. Do give item. Whatever. I think it's give or add item. Here's our add item source item amount. There you go. So we go back to can give item. It does our check here for our distance check, then does this whole check here, and then does our valid items checks. So apple is true, so we can give an apple. So that doesn't pass. Now this it won't pass because we are only giving 5 apples, and our maximum is 10. And from there, we can return true. Because if none of these go through, then this is the only other option that can happen. So it will return true. We're doing a conditional link to this function here to check if it's not true or if it's invalid or if it's null, which a not check will check again for both. So that is that. And then if this doesn't go through, then we can give the item and we can return true. Because what if we want extra logic here, like a notify, do notify, for example, we want to do something based on notify. So there you go. You can do different things. So like if notify, then if got item, then you could do one here. And if else, then you can do something else based on that. So like for example, we could do like or type here would be error because you didn't get it, and type here would be success because you did get it. So that is just a little bit of example of what you can do. And another thing you can also do is add a console print statement, which my free to use bridge, my brain is farting, has a distance check and a console print check, and all these functions you see here, my bridge has, or except this because this is kind of, you just put this in your own script. But all this stuff here, my bridge has. So if you guys want to use my bridge, supports ESX, QBOX, and qbcore, then it is on my GitHub. I'll put a link to it in my description. All right, so my number one suggested thing to do to stop cheaters is to get an anti-cheat. Honestly, just get one, because there's a lot of script kiddies out there that just buy a crappy cheat for the first time because they want to cheat in FiveM, and they just go in and cause mayhem. Just get an anti-cheat. Some of the cheats just suck. They won't even be able to. They won't even. They'll be detected. A lot of anti-cheats come with a lot of nice built-in functions. Just grab one. I use FiveGuard. I don't know why I can think of the name. I use FiveGuard. I mean, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of anti-cheats out there. But me personally, I just use FiveGuard. So that's my number one thing. Just an anti-cheat. But there's a lot more examples of this kind of stuff you can do out there. This is definitely not a locked list. There's a lot of different ways to stop cheaters, but this is just a small example to get your mind thinking of ways you could stop cheaters. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure you guys join my Discord for more support, and have a great rest of your day, night, morning, wherever you're in the world. Peace out.